Hey everyone, happy lunchtime. How you doing? My name's Sheree and I am a psychotherapist and counsellor, psychologist and mum of two, partner, fiance, and what else am I? Dog owner, cat owner, chicken owner. I love sailing. And yeah, I'm here today to bring you direct joy. We haven't been online for a while. We haven't been live for a while for many reasons. But mainly summer. So when summer happens in our household, lots of things happen, and we go into sixth gear enjoying the outside, and which really fits with my kind of new regime of work and how I'm embracing more ecotherapy in the work that I do, and really, just embracing who I am. The sun is coming out, the afternoon sun is coming out behind me, which is awesome. Today's Direct Joy is a bit of a special because we haven't been online for a while, and I really wanted to join you and say hi and just be online really. So hi everyone who's joined us today or on the replay later, whatever works for you. So today we are talking about community exclusion and dejection, which is a pretty cool word, I think. Not a pretty cool feeling though, is it? And it is actually a feeling. I had to look it up because it's like, is it a state of mind or is it a feeling? But it is a feeling. So let's have a think about where this came from in being a direct joy. What is it? What's going on here? So community. We all have communities. This is kind of more sociology based. We all have communities. We all have places where we have things in common, characteristics, attitudes, interests, location in common with each other. And that is to be in community. That is to kind of move towards the idea of tribe. So that attitude and characteristic of commonality, similarity. And that really interests me because we have instantly in that a contradiction and a paradox, because to be in community also means that people are excluded from that. And whenever we find that in mental health and emotional health, we find that then therefore there is a tension. And on that tension, on that thin line of that tension, we have the difficulties of how we manage that, who we are, where we're at, what that means. And we instantly have exclusion and inclusion. And that creates a kind of right, wrong, black and white thinking, difficulty to manage within ourselves and within groups. So, which then can get feelings of dejection. Dejection is such an awesome word, and it comes from the Latin to throw down, which is a very American kind of throw down. That's a terrible Texan American accent. Anyone who works with me knows that I try my accents, but they don't always work. So to throw down, to cast down, to be cast down, to feel cast down. That gives me that sense in my body of kind of casting down. Oh, it's heavy, it's depressing, it's low in mood, it is like all those things that we feel when we feel excluded from a group, right? When we feel excluded from that part. And if we look at the kind of one of my most absolute favourite papers, which I must look up, who published it. It was a journal article about football groups and about hooliganism, and it was a big thing in the 80s and 90s when I was growing up, about the fact of football hooliganism and what it's like. You know, I'm sure there are still firms now, but what it's like to be part of those groups, what it's like to belong and to have that sheer feeling of being part of supporting that team and being that person who is part of that. You know, we have it throughout history in groups. We have it in them and us, you know, through sport, through hobbies, through churches and religion, through politics, through any kind of families. We all have family dynamics, which is, you know, either something we are reveling in, gossiping about, or feeling really painful about. There is that huge part of, am I tribe, am I not tribe? Is that my tribe? Is that my family? And am I the ugly duckling? Or am I the swan? And how we have a perspective shift on that. I do a huge amount of work with people in my psychotherapy work, thinking about that element of feeling tribe in our family and what that means through the ancestral links and the pathways that we've come from and what are going to, and the patterns that we create both for ourselves and the patterns that play out in our family. These are really interesting questions to ask yourself. Who are you in your family? What position do you take up? Are you the naughty one? Are you the good one? Are you the talkative one? Are you the oversensitive one? Who are you? Are you the motherly sibling? Are you the overprotective father? Who are you, and what label has been given to you? What label have you received, and what does that mean for you? And that can bring up huge amounts of stuff to process and work with. And that is about who we are, what we choose to be, and where we choose to be. And some of those things don't feel like choices. Some of them aren't choices. We don't necessarily arguably choose our family of origin, but there is so much rich, rewarding things that we can learn from those around us, from our ancestors, and from the next generation too. So doing that generational work is very powerful. And it shows us the kind of things that trigger in our lives. So one of the things that came up for me, one of the questions this week that I was hearing from the tribe of people that I have around me repeatedly was about the fact of, I'm triggered by that. And it's, as you know, I've got a blog piece on triggering, and I love to talk about triggers. Okay, 1 minute, that's triggered you. Okay, well, is that theirs? Or are you projecting stuff onto them? Or actually, is that your trigger? And is that an indication, which we need to be happy about, even though you're feeling really rubbish about it? Is it something for you to say, okay, that's triggering me. That's suggesting there's some work for me to do. That's suggesting that those thoughts, those memories, that thing needs some attention, and that needs some healing, and that needs some work, and that needs some love, most importantly, because that's the kind of shadow side that we don't acknowledge. We think, that's happening to that person. I have an opinion, and therefore I know that I have an opinion and I want them to listen to that. But actually it's like, okay, 1 minute, take a step back. What's going on for you that you feel the need? Because yes, you have so much wisdom because you've been there, but because you've been there, maybe you need to take a step back there just to say, okay, what do I need to learn about there? What actually has it taught me? This reminds me of the last direct joy we did in talking about the fact of the shipwreck and the fact of, we hang on to the parts of the shipwreck, but actually what do we learn from that? What's happening in the chaos around us that allows us to go, okay, there's the helpful indication. Okay, there's the healing. And, that's really rich material, and that's about a perspective change. And that allows us to really turn the world upside down that we're in and view it from a different perspective, just temporarily, to see what perspective change that gives us. And if we're able to do that when we're in community, we really can feel supported. We really can feel like, okay, I've got people behind me. They've got my back. I've got people in front of me that are leading the way. I've got people by the side of me that are on the same journey. And that is just absolutely really, really supportive, really encouraging with what we may do. And be that, when you are on a football pitch, be that when you're on a netball court, be that when you're learning a new hobby, be that anything that you do sport-wise, but anything that you do hobby-wise as well. You could be learning to knit, you could be learning to sew, you could, even just having one person alongside us. I know that when I became a mum, having a mums group around me was absolutely awesome. And I had the delight of being part of 3 mums group in South Croydon, and they were just absolutely amazing as part of Emmanuel Church, and that was just astonishingly rewarding and enriching for both myself, for my children, and for my family. So what can be bad about community in that sense? If we find one that we really fit with, if we find a gym that we've really gelled with, if we find any kind of group that we really feel like we're home, Now, there are elements of that which really, it's very much like sewing. You go forward and then you need to do the back stitch, and, you need to do a reinforcing stitch to be actually, okay, I feel part of this? Is this where I want to be? And those things change. We have groups, we move location, we have online groups that now necessarily, maybe meeting in person, we maybe can't access them. Things change in our physicality as we grow older, or as we grow pregnant, or as we grow menopausal, or as anything happens in our lives, accidents happen, or finances change, which mean that we change with that. And that can be a really difficult time, because we have that lull then of not being part of a community, not being part of a tribe. I know going from working in the NHS to being self-employed is really different, because I have my coffee solo now, and actually it's like, or I have it with my family, and it's like, I don't get to stand in that kitchen or sit in that office and do that routine with that tribe. And that's something very much to grieve, because although I love this setup now, I loved that setup too, and I loved those people and being with them and being part of that. But when I hung up my NHS badge, I hung up that experience too, and that group and that tribe and that community. So there is the positives of exclusion as well, in the fact that it allows us to grieve and move forward. And whenever we're able to grieve, the other side of grief is joy, and we all love a bit of joy, right? So really kind of getting in touch with how community allows both the kind of doors to open and the doors to close, but when one door closes, another window opens, as I quote The Sound of Music, which I absolutely love, right? Because I've always thought, as one door closes, another door opens. But actually, what about the window? Hadn't thought about the window until I saw The Sound of Music this weekend. So yeah, maybe that will help you thinking about doors closing and other doors opening and other windows opening too, and what we get through the windows. So there's so much we can say about different community groups. I'm being quite general today about the benefits of them to our mental and emotional health, and it is very much on a kind of sociological viewpoint. It's about society, it's about who we are as a social being, it's about who we are and what we take back to our families, what we take back to our family of origin, and what we bring forward and forge forward, and how we enjoy life. But this is very broad, which is interesting, because community groups aren't broad, are they? They're very specific. It's something about having an interest. And one of the things that I've been involved with throughout the years is something called Red Tent. And Red Tent is an international, mainly female-based, or those who identify as female, thinking about femininity and joining together in a group of multi-faith, multi-age, multi-everything really, a bringing together of women to join together and share and listen. Share is interesting. That's one of my part of my names is share. So to share is very important to me, and that element of sharing is great. And that's one of the things that I really love about Red Tent, is to be able to sit together with a group of women and share experiences, whatever age you are, however you identify yourself and your hobbies and your being and your work and your family, however you parent, whatever you choose in life of how to live life. It's a coming together to share and enrich and listen to stories. The sharing of stories is absolutely ancient medicine, and we see it throughout all religions. We see it through all community groups. We see it through all hobbies. We see it through the television that we watch every day. We see it in our children. We see it in the books that we read. We see it in film. We see it. We are surrounded by stories and memories. And having recently given a eulogy for a very special person, the stories that we have just need to be embraced in life. And that was another indication for me that it was time for me to run a Red Tent. So on the next new moon in September, Friday, September the 10th, I hope I've got that date right, in Bexhill, in the middle of my community by St. Peter's Church, I will be running from Pit Stop Youth trust in the grounds of the wonderful grounds, I will have a red tent group which I will be running for the community. Anybody is welcome to come from as far and wide. It's by donation. It is ticket, so you do need to get a ticket, but it is by donation. There are free places, £5 places, £33 places, and £15 places. So it's open, whatever your income. It's open however you identify, and you are all welcome. It's a very new setup for me, even though I've been attending groups like this for forever. So yeah, come and join me. Come and be part of community. There is no exclusion, there is no dejection, and anything that's triggered will come up and be lovingly supported in the group that we have. There's a huge momentum for this in this area, and I'm really, really, really proud to be part of it. So yeah, this is another reason why today thinking about community, and yeah, joining together to celebrate who we are and to allow us to support each other. It's very much part of my work is to provide support in the stories that we have. And, one of the things about stories is that they enable trauma to be processed, which is, as you know, that's what I do. So wherever you're stuck, wherever there is some trauma, let's bring that to light. Be it through Direct Joy, be it through Red Tent, be it through working one-to-one with me for a short period of time, or be it through working one-to-one with me for a long period of time, because sometimes that's what we need. That's who we are, and that's part of our journey. And I am honoured with the people that I work with. I love working with the people that I work with, and I love helping other people to access this kind of work. So if this sounds good for you, follow the links to the Red Tent and come and join me. It's a Friday night. It's perfect. It will give you time to travel back to wherever you need to. Afterwards, it will give you time out from family life or whatever life is thrown at you. It's after work. It's the beginning of a new moon. So set your intentions, and it's the beginning of the school year. Like what could be better than joining together and sharing stories around the fire? There's loads of practical kind of stuff about the fact of what we do if there's not, and there's car parking, and there's sharing of food, and there's loads of details like that. So get in touch if you're interested. I would love to see you. It's open to all. And yeah, that's it from me today. So if you've got any questions about community, if there's anything I haven't quite covered, I know I haven't gone in terribly to what it feels like to be excluded and dejected. And that's because actually, I think it's time to start celebrating community and bringing that being part of that community to then work through those issues. Really embracing where we're at, who we are, and how we choose then allows us the stability to work through that other stuff. So start where you're at, with your feet on the ground and with your breath, and the rest will become clear. If you're having a tricky time at the moment, if it's a tricky summer for you, get in touch and we'll find a way out of that. And for today, I look forward to seeing you really soon. That's not going to be next week. I'm going to hope it's next week, and it's not going to be next week because I'm away next week. So I look forward to seeing you the week after. And yeah, any ideas for the next Direct Joy, get in touch. And in the meantime, have a wonderful, very blessed, awesome day. And I hope the sun is shining where you are. And if not, I hope the plants are growing with the rain. Take care, everyone, and I will see you very soon.